Okay, so gold and silver are on fire. Now, listen, there's more to the story than meets the eye, okay? There's good news and bad news in this. And so we're going to go over all of that in this video. I really hope you watch this all the way through because this is going to be a really important video for you to watch. So let's talk about it. Okay, so please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. All right, so I'm going to have a lot of slides in this video, but I promise I'm going to go through them very quickly, and this is going to be a very entertaining and very informative video. So I do hope you watch it all the way through. And again, please hit that like button. Okay, so my name is Ed Anderson, and I am the host, moderator, and all-around nice guy of the Hey Ed YouTube channel. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about gold and silver, about, and we're talking about what it's doing, why it's doing it, and the implications of it, good and bad. Okay, so let's start by taking a look at what gold and silver are doing today. Today is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. And let's go to the live chart. Okay, so gold, as of this recording, is trading at $4,300, up another $80 today, another 2% in a day. These are big freaking moves, for gold. This is insane stuff. This is a brand new high. This is a record high in gold. So $4,300 an ounce. So right now we're looking at the 24-hour chart. Let's go back and take a look at what it's done over the past year. Now, I don't know how well this is showing up for you guys because the chart might be a little bit hard to see. But you'll see that a year ago, gold was trading at $2,600, and now it's at $4,300. Just a massive move for gold in 1 year. And how about silver? What is silver doing? Silver today is at 53.99. We'll call it 54, okay? It was over 54 a few minutes ago. So it's up, 1% on the day. That's the 1 day chart. But let's take a look at the 1 year chart. Again, I don't know whether you can see this because, the chart is in silver and, because this is silver, but this is what it's been done. So silver a year ago was trading at 32, and right now it's at 54. This is, by the way, an all-time high for silver. So both gold and silver are at record highs, and they're going up very sharply. Now, there are a lot of reasons for that, and I'm going to get into that, very quickly here. So bear with me one second. I want to tell you a quick story, all right? It's an illustrative story, so bear with me. So I was born in 1960. And the average cost of silver in 1960 was 35.27. We'll call it 36 for math purposes. So if my parents had bought me some gold when I was born in 1960 and they put it away in a shoebox, they would have been able to buy that gold for $35 an ounce. We'll call it $36 an ounce. Now, also in 1960, the median price for a house was $12,000 in the good old United States of America. So if you wanted to buy a typical house in America in 1960 and you wanted to pay for it in gold, it would have cost you at $36 an ounce, it would have cost you 333 ounces of gold. Today, with gold being at $4,000, it's actually at $4,300, but just, again, simple math, right? So today at $4,000 an ounce, those same 333 ounces that would have bought you a house in 1960 would today be worth 1.3 million. So do you think you'd be able to buy a house even today for 1.3 million? Chances are not just a median house. You can buy a pretty damn nice house pretty much anywhere in America for that, except for maybe California. But listen, that ounce of gold in 1960 is the same ounce of gold today. All right. So what has changed with gold? Has gold gotten more valuable? Well, it depends on how you look at it, right? It's not that gold has gotten more valuable. It's that our dollars have been destroyed. Our buying power has been crushed because of the incompetence, or maybe by design, of the powers to be. Listen, there's a reason why the mantra on this channel is get your money out of the bank, acquire gold and silver, and establish streams of passive recurring income. Okay, so some talking head genius on some, business channel decided to coin a phrase for what's going on in gold and silver, and he's calling it the debasement trade, like it's a good thing. Now, of course, the idea being that as the buying power of the U.S. dollar, not just the U.S. dollar, by the way, but all currencies around the world, is going down. And the buying power of our currencies has been eroded ever since that world-class corrupt organization known as the Federal Reserve was created in 1913. Here's a little chart of what the buying power of the U.S. dollar has done since 1913. The US dollar has lost 97% of its buying power since 1913. 97%. Okay? That's primarily because of money printing. Okay? Money printing, money printing, money printing. And this is probably a good time to remind you that every single fiat currency that has ever existed throughout mankind has failed. Every single time they try to create, currencies, they've all failed. Every single one. Now this chart goes back to 1450. So the first world reserve currency was Portugal. That lasted for 80 years. Then Spain, then the Netherlands, then France, then Britain, and now the good old America, 94 years. So the US dollar is currently the world's reserve currency. And listen, for a lot of reasons that I won't get into in this video because I've talked about it so much, is under attack. And these guys, they're at risk of becoming extinct. If you think that can't happen, it absolutely can happen. At the very least, they can debase it more. And the whole process of debasement is more than just money printing, okay? This whole business about stable coins, by the way, listen, I'm pretty involved in cryptos, as you guys know, right? And the Genius Act was passed this year, and the Genius Act makes stable coins pretty much a thing now. And these stable coins have to be backed one by one by US dollars, through US treasuries. So what's that going to do? It's going to create even more printing. And that's going to debase our US dollars even more. That's one big reason why you do not want to have your money in cash in a bank, because it's a guaranteed loss on your money. So in effect, remember, there's a teeter-totter effect, a teeter-totter relationship between gold and currencies. So it's oversimplified to think of it this way. As the value of our currencies go down, the value of gold and silver goes up. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's essentially it, right? So silver has been having a really nice run. It's breaking out to new highs, and it has not seen this level since the early 2010s. But right now, this is a new high. If it can have a weekly close above $50, this thing could run quite a bit more, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, so let's step back and let's take a look at the technicals for gold and silver. Okay, now silver is getting a little frothy. It's getting a little stretched, okay? Hopefully you can see that little beige support area. And silver for the past 6 weeks has not really had a pullback. It's just going straight up. Okay, now here's a chart that shows a comparison of gold and silver. You see cup and handles in both gold and silver. This is a classic technical pattern. And it's a very powerful one. And you can see it is textbook in both cases. Now gold has already broken out. It broke through the cup and handle, right? And the consequence is it's going parabolic. Now silver has just completed the handle portion of the cup and handle. So it's lagging behind gold, technically speaking. And here's another view of that pattern. You can pause and read this on your own if you want. But let's take a look at gold, okay? Now, there's a pattern here that I actually call it the Anderson pattern. Remember, I used to be a trading instructor, and so one of the patterns that I taught, I called it the Anderson pattern. I didn't invent it. I just put my name to it because I like it so much. So my students know it as the Anderson pattern. But there it is. It broke out of the Anderson pattern in early September, and now it's going straight parabolic. And there is a psychological as well as technical reason why this is happening. Okay, but now I want to show you the dark side of this big move in gold and silver. Because there's a reason why people buy gold and silver primarily, as an insurance policy. People don't generally buy gold and silver, to make a lot of money. For the most part, people buy them as insurance policies on their overall portfolios. So when things go to hell in a handbasket, gold and silver will act as like a life preserver. So because gold and silver essentially serve the function of an insurance policy, people watch gold and silver as clues to the health of the economy and their confidence in the financial markets. The idea being that when gold and silver are doing well, that means people are losing confidence in the financial market. So let's take a really good look at that gold pattern again. All right, take a good look at this and compare it to this. Now, look at the chart on the left there. See that little red line here? That red line is pretty much what gold is doing right now. Look to the right and look at the gold chart there. And look what gold did between 1922 and 1923. Okay, so the pattern on the left here is priced in Deutschmarks. You'll see that it started the year in 1922 at essentially 100 Deutschmarks, per troy ounce. And it ended the year 1 year later at 1 billion Deutschmarks. 1 billion. Now, if you look over to the right here, could this be the start of the same kind of thing? Listen, I'm not guaranteeing it. That's a very extreme example. That's pretty much there might be one other example throughout history, but that is the big, very extreme example. I'm just saying, I'm just trying to paint a picture for you here that what's happening in gold could be portending some pretty bad news coming up here in the financial industry. So that's why you really want to pay attention. Look, it doesn't have to do what the Deutschmark did. Deutschmark went from 100 to 1 billion. Now, listen, I've done videos before talking about the Weimar, Republic, and one of the examples that I always touted was, what if, you were a pretty smart guy. So let's say you pulled your money out of the bank and you bought gold with it, okay, and you sat on it for 1 year. Well, you would have made a 1 billion% return on your money in 1 year, just for getting your money out of the bank and putting it into gold and sitting on it for 1 year. At the end of 1 year, you could have bought a brand new, beautiful mansion in Germany with 1 ounce of gold. That's kind of, that's the story. So this is what they're referring to today very cleverly as the debasement trade. What they're referring to is our buying power being decimated. Listen, just for fun, let's take a look at a couple more charts, about, with gold and silver today. Now, there are other things going on. Listen, there are a lot of reasons why gold and silver are moving the way they are. There's no one answer, okay? There's a lot of things coming together. It's kind of a perfect storm scenario. So one of the issues that's going on at the moment is what's going on at the LBMA in London. Now, this is the chart from deliveries of silver, about 6 months ago. Deliveries at the COMEX. This money was coming from London. Well, now London, they don't have any silver, man. This is a scandal. And this is one of the really big reasons why I think gold and silver are going up so much. Listen, you have to understand that gold and silver are a very manipulated market, largely through paper gold and paper silver, contracts. Listen, when people write contracts against gold and silver, they're supposed to be backed by physical gold and silver. The truth is they've oversold these contracts. I don't know how these people get away with this. It's got to be illegal. These people should be in jail. They should have been put in jail like a decade ago, but they continue to tolerate it because there's a lot of money at stake. But more contracts have been written against gold and silver than there is gold and silver. And these people, I think, are now starting to turn in those contracts and asking for delivery of the gold and silver. And people are panicking because they don't have the gold and silver to give them. Now, factor in what's probably going on here is a good old-fashioned short squeeze. People betting against gold and silver. That's one of the reasons why gold and silver has been really hard to move up, for decades now, is because there are people out there who will short it as soon as it gets to certain levels, and that's how they keep the price of silver and gold depressed. The powers to be, they don't want gold and silver to go up a lot. So they use a lot of, levers in order to keep those prices under control. Well, like I've been saying for years now, well, what happens if these people are called in on what they're doing? And what happens if it gets out of control? Well, a lot of unwinding by shorts take place. And in my opinion, that's probably the single biggest reason why we're seeing such a spike going on right now. And short squeezes can be very violent and very dramatic, and they can go on for a while. Now, you would think that sometime in here, there should be a pullback. There should. In both gold and silver, there should be some kind of a pullback, okay? That's just the way stocks, commodities, cryptos work. They don't go up in a straight line. They have pullbacks along the way. So gold and silver should have a pullback, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they run a lot further than people think. We'll just have to wait and see, what happens here. Okay, let's talk for a hot second about the stock market, okay? Because this kind of fits into this whole narrative. Okay, so whatever it's worth, Warren Buffett has set a record amount of cash aside. He's sitting at $347 billion in cash. And Warren Buffett, he's supposed to be the oracle, right? He's the one that everyone listens to. Well, he's putting his money to cash, man. Now, I don't know whether he knows more than we do. He might. But let's take a look at what the market has been doing. I mean, the market has been in a very, in a textbook upward trend for quite a while here. And right now it is at the upper end of that range. But if you look back to 2008, 2009, look what the market did in a very short period of time from that upper level. So the market has not rolled over yet, but here's some things that I want you to pay attention to. First of all, 30% of the S&P 500 is made up of just 7 companies. So it's not like every company in the world out there has been participating in this huge market rally. 30% of the S&P 500 is made up of just 7 companies. The ones you would think, the large tech stocks like Nvidia, Tesla, Apple. But let's take a look at this chart. This is a chart of the Conference Board Leading Economic Index, known as the LEI, versus the Conference Board Coincident Economic Index. Now, in every one of the examples, I want you to look at this blue line. See, when this blue line rolled over, it always foreshadowed a subsequent sell-off by the LEI. So in this current turnoff, the black line has not rolled over yet. So if you go by this chart, then a market sell-off is overdue, and it could be a very dramatic one. Okay, so the stock market does have the potential of having a very nasty correction, out of nowhere. Now, it doesn't have to. It could keep going up. Listen, the stock market is not going up for organic reasons. It's being propped up. This is a sugar high going on in the market. I mean, what's the market PE now? Like over 40, when the typical PE on the market is 17. I'm just saying, depending on what measure you use, the stock market is overpriced. Now let's take a look at a few unofficial but very common sense indicators for you to consider. Here's the chart on CarMax. Okay, so used cars, people buying cars, right? People are not buying new cars; they can't afford them, new or used. Now here's a very scary one. Late rent payments continue to tick up. Look at the late rent payments. People cannot make their rents. And of course, look at the steady advance of our national debt. This is the single biggest reason why our buying power has been destroyed over the years. And this is how the U.S. national debt clock looks today. So today, as of Thursday, October 16th, 2025, we're sitting at $37.8 trillion of national debt. This is unsustainable. Something is going to have to happen. Oh, and by the way, it's not just us who's having this debt issue. So $37.8 trillion is bad enough. But take a look at China. Okay, so China's broad money supply hits $44.1 trillion, twice the U.S. level of $21 trillion. Now this refers to the money supply, okay? But just like us, they're printing money. They are desperate, just as we are. Now take a look at our cumulative growth rate over the years. That red line is our federal debt, and the gray lines are our GDP and our tax revenues. Our taxes cannot keep up with the money that we're printing. Now, another reason why the US dollar is under pressure and we're losing buying power, because foreign countries are selling our debt. They don't want to own US debt anymore. Look at what Russia started to do in 2020. Look at that sell-off. Russia essentially does not want to have anything to do with our treasuries anymore. But also China. China is also selling our treasuries. China doesn't want to buy our debt. And by the way, Japan is also selling, U.S. treasuries. Now they have their own issues trying to defend their own currency. So in effect, the world collectively is buying much less U.S. treasuries. And as these countries sell their treasuries, that money comes flooding back to U.S. shores, and that creates inflation. I think hyperinflation is on its way. Now, okay, so let me wrap this up before you click off this video. Okay, listen. Our freedoms are essentially a myth these days. We are powerful entities around the world, including our own governments, who are doing everything they can to create a surveillance state. We're already living in a surveillance state. We are not truly, free anymore. But there are a few things you can do to protect the final vestiges of personal freedom. And that is, it's gold and silver, man. Gold and silver is really the only way. Well, there are two ways to transact business anonymously, right? There's cash and there's gold and silver. Now, cash, of course, this is garbage. This is absolute garbage. It's a guaranteed loss in your money because of inflation due to money printing. But gold and silver, it's been used as currency, as a barter instrument for thousands of years, and it always will be. So if you're a freedom-loving individual, one of the things you can do to preserve a little bit of your personal sovereignty is to acquire some gold and silver. So remember, get your money out of the bank, acquire some gold and silver, and establish streams of passive recurring income. I've got some good programs that'll do that for you. If you want to learn about them, shoot me an email. And you might want to join the Hey Ed WhatsApp group. Shoot me an email, and I'll send you a link to join the Hey Ed WhatsApp group. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Copy that.